handheld.
Oh, wait.
I can drop it down. Drop it like it's hot a little bit. Yeah. Like that right now? Yeah?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that is good.
Yes, okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is an excerpt from my novel. Yeah. Okay. In the scene before this, the protagonist, Lucas's mother, passed away from lung cancer. He has a dream that night, and it includes his best friend Jade and another boy named Milo. Milo had been hanging out with Jade, making Lucas jealous. This is his dream. He was on the beach. The cold salt water wet his hair, and it took him a moment for him to realize where he was. He sat up before a dying wave could run over his face, glancing down at his bare chest. Why was he so out of breath? Lucas swallowed, tasting cotton candy as he ran his tongue around his mouth. He pressed a hand to his chest, his pounding heart worrying him. Standing up on shaky legs, he looked around. He noticed the ice cream shop in the distance, squinting as he tried to make out the two silhouettes getting out of it. Hey! Lucas waved his arms, attempting to get their attention. Guys! He reached up to brush a wet strand of hair out of his eyes, still confused at the whole situation. Jade looked up, making eye contact with him. He texted, waiting for her to wave back, but she simply stared. Lucas approached her, a growing lump in his throat preventing him from saying anything. He opened his mouth once he was ready to speak, but she cut him off. Get out of my face. The boy next to him pushed up his glasses, running a hand through his black hair. Yeah, he agreed. Go away. What are you doing? Lucas's voice came out in a pained whisper, and he couldn't help but stare up at the ominous gray clouds behind the pier. Getting ice cream together, Jade replied, holding up an ice cream cone. Lucas realized it looked like cotton candy, and then he looked closer. It was cotton candy, but it was nearly liquid. It sat in the cone as if the cone was meant to carry soup, but Jade didn't seem to notice. She tipped her head back to drink it, her face wrinkling as she forced herself to swallow the sweet liquid. It's not good when it's melted, she commented, looking at Milo's solid scoop of mint. Lucas nodded, suddenly craving cotton candy. I'm going to head in to get a scoop too. Jade bit into her cone. Whatever you want to do, Milo and I are leaving, so bye. Leaving? Where are you going? He whipped around as she and Milo passed him, but they were gone. Gone, literally, disappeared into thin air. Lucas took a shuddering breath, reaching a hand out to touch the air where they had been. What the heck? He whispered under his breath, the faint scent of lilies of the valley floating on the breeze. Booming thunder rumbled through Lucas's chest, and he looked up to feel the first drops of rain fall onto his face. He swung open the door of the ice cream shop and in an attempt to avoid the rain, only to be met with another surprise. Lucas swallowed, his eyes darting from the melting ice cream tubs to the many copies of his mother, ordering at the counter, paying for her scoop, eating her ice cream in the corner. Her mother, as the cashier beckoned him forward, her name tag clearly reading Carrie. Welcome. What do you want today? Lucas watched her lips spread in a classic infectious smile as she tucked a lock of her light brown hair behind her ear. The lump settled in his throat. Looking down at his trembling hands, he blinked through the blurriness and muttered two words. Cotton candy. Okay, I'll get that for you. She signaled to another copy of her, who started scooping out the soupy liquid from the tub. Then she leaned over the counter until her face was right at her son's. Honey, why are you crying? Her voice was gentle, smooth, comforting. Tell me what's wrong. Lucas choked out a sob as Carrie handed him the soup and a Coke. The cashier copy of his mother noticed, for she made her way around the counter until she was next to him. She wrapped an arm around his shoulder, her soft touch making him melt into her embrace. He buried his face into her shoulder as he cried, her hair tickling his face. She was warm. "Don't cry, Luke," she whispered into his ear, stroking the back of his head with her fingers. "Don't cry, okay?" Lucas pulled her closer, his sobs only becoming more intense as they hugged. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, honey." She turned her head towards the side of his face, her breaths grazing his skin. "I love you so much. Don't you forget that, okay?" "Okay." Lucas choked out through his tears. The sensation of a kiss on his cheek, the last thing he felt before the body he was hugging became cold. Then his mother, all the life sucked out of her, slumped into his arms. Lucas cried out, the full weight of her now under his control. He pushed her off of him, watching her drop to the floor with a dull thud. His mother's skin was pale now, a sickly sweet floral scent emanating from her, as Lucas's dream reincarnation of her became the body in the casket. Her face had a peaceful expression, one that didn't seem to fit her at all. As Lucas's eyes filled with more tears, he blinked to make his vision clear again. And all the copies of the beautiful woman that was his mother simply disappeared, just like Jade and Milo had, as if they had never been there. Distorted patterns of pink and blue shone off of the walls. Everywhere he looked, the bright neon colors popped into his vision and brought a throbbing sensation into his head. Rain pattered onto the windows as Lucas stood in the middle of the now quiet shop, gazing down at the melted ice cream cone still wrapped in his fist. And for the first time, he truly felt the pain of loneliness.